This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
On behalf of the Chofetz Chaim Heritage Foundation, I am very excited to present to you Lunchbreak 6, a 4-week machzoim during your lunch break with an emphasis on positive speech. Story goes that when the Chofetz Chaim was about 83 years old, he was fragile, but he was in good spirits. And one of the Talmidim in Radin came to visit the Chofetz Chaim, and he was pretty nervous to meet the Chofetz Chaim. And the Chofetz Chaim says, "Come here." So he approaches the Chofetz Chaim, and the Chofetz Chaim says, "Come close." So he started getting scared. Who comes close to the Chofetz Chaim? The Chofetz Chaim says, "Open my mouth." He started shaking. "What do you mean, open your mouth?" He didn't know what to do. The Chofetz Chaim said, "Open my mouth." So the student was so frightened, he starts to open the mouth of the Chofetz Chaim. The Chofetz Chaim says, "Look at my teeth." And the Talmud was startled. He saw snowy, white, pristine teeth, like he'd be looking at the teeth of a child. The Chofetz Chaim then says, "Count my teeth." The man thought he was going to faint. Count the teeth of the Chofetz Chaim? That means he has to get really deep down into the mouth of the Chofetz Chaim. And he starts to count the teeth of the Chofetz Chaim. And he counted 32 perfectly placed white teeth like of a child. The Chofetz Chaim said, "All my life I guarded my mouth, so Hashem guarded my mouth." We all know of the great blessings that accrue to those who are shomer piv u'lashainai, somebody who guards their mouth. But we know it goes beyond just Hashem guarding and watching and keeping somebody's mouth healthy. We all know that a person's life is dependent on Shmiras Halashain. We've heard so many times, we all know that if somebody wants life, you got to guard your mouth from speaking Lashon Hara. But we hear so much about it. There's so much emphasis about it. There's so many books. There's so many programs. But do we understand why it is that a person's life is dependent more on Shmiras Halashain more than any other mitzvah? There are a lot of mitzvahs. There's 613 mitzvahs. Why don't we say, Chofetz Chaim, light the Neroi Shabbos, be mafresh challah, all the mitzvahs in the Torah? Why the emphasis on Shmiras Halashain? The Chofetz Chaim was so intrigued by Koyach Halashain. He writes in one of his Svarim that when he reached 80 years old, he says, Kemat, basically, practically, his mind never was distracted from contemplating, from studying the faculty of speech. Chofetz Chaim was so enamored with the faculty of speech. It's very interesting. When the Chofetz Chaim turned 90 years old, he took out an ad in the newspaper to announce his 90th birthday. One would think that's quite unusual. Is that something to publicize? Maybe it's ayin hara. But the Chofetz Chaim wanted to publicize that he reached 90 years old because the Chofetz Chaim knew that if people knew that he reached 90, it would really strengthen his life's message, which is a person's Chaim, person's life, is dependent more than on anything else than on Shmiras Halashain. So, I would like to share with you an insight that I think will completely elevate and revolutionize your understanding of the role of Shmiras Halashain in the life of a Jew. By way of mashal, there's certain things in this world that are not easy to put together. You could connect two solids. If you had, let's say, a brick and a piece of wood, you could connect them. You could take cement and connect a brick to wood. Two solids are easily connectable. But try connecting a solid to a liquid. Try it. Even in food, it's nearly impossible to connect something which is of substance to something which is a liquid. What are you going to connect it with? Glue? tape? How do you attach a solid to a liquid? So we understand that there's certain things in this world, when they're very different, they're hard to connect. But you know what are the two entities in this world that should be not only difficult to connect, but impossible? Something about us. We know, on the one hand, we're physical beings. We're a guf, we have a body. We're flesh and blood, we're basar v'dam. And on the other hand, we're also a neshama, we're a soul. The soul is chelek Eloka mimal, a piece of the divine, a piece of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we're a body, we're a physical being, we're a soul, we're a spiritual entity. How does Hashem put these two things together? How does Hashem connect our body to our soul? How do we remain alive? What is the glue? What is the scotch tape? What is the interface? How does our body connect to our soul? You know, the Ramah in Shulchan Aruch says that when we make a bracha, the bracha of Asher Yatzar, after performing bodily need, we talk about Asher Yatzar Sa'adam B'chachma, God created man, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created man with wisdom, and we talk about the different parts of the body, Nikavim, Nikavim, Chalulim, Chalulim. We end off the bracha, Roifei Chol Basar, God heals our flesh. The Rebbeinu Shalom heals our flesh. Umafli la'asois, He acts wondrously. Rebbeinu Shalom acts wondrously. What is this wonder that we refer to in the bracha of Asher Yatzar? Umafli la'asois, He acts wondrously. The Ramah says the wonder is Hashem takes the guf, the flesh and the blood, and Hashem takes our neshama, our soul, and somehow He connects these two things that are opposites, that are antithetical, that should not be connectable. Somehow Hashem connects the body to the soul. What do we call that? Umafli la'asos, a pele, a wonder. You want to know what the greatest wonder in this world is? The wonder of connecting the guf to the neshama. So now the question is, what is the connection? With what does the Rebbeinu Shalom connect our body to our soul? You know, there's an interesting pasuk. The pasuk that talks about making a neder, making a vow. It says, Ish o isha ki yafli lindar neder. If a man or a woman will wondrously make a neder. The word used to describe an utterance of the lips is pele, yafli. Interestingly, if you look in the Rambam groups together all the halachos of words, nedarim, vows, naziros, taking upon oneself to be a nazir, different types of cherem, erechin, different types of promises. The Rambam groups them all together and he calls it hafla, pele, wonder. You know what the greatest wonder in this world is? The connection of body and soul. And you know what that connection is? The power of speech. The power of speech is what we call the makeh bepatish, the final touch of man. Like the pasuk says, Vayas Elokim es Adam, God created man, physical being. Vayipach ba'apav nishmas Chaim, He blew the neshama into man, spiritual being. Yeah, but what connects them? Vayehi ha'adam lenefesh chaya, man became a living being. We're familiar with what Targum says, L'ruach memalala, a speaking being. The power of speech is the fusion of body and soul. It is what allows a person to remain alive. Otherwise, a person is just a body and a soul, and the two can never be united in one effort. It is the faculty of speech. It is the power of speech that connects the guf to the neshama. That is the ultimate pele. That is the greatest wonder. Maybe this adds new meaning to the phrase wonder words. Words are literally the life force of a person. They're a great pele. And now we understand why it's so critical to guard our words. You know, the more important something is, the more shmira, the more guarding it needs. You know, people have groceries. They leave it in the refrigerator. They don't lock their fridge at night. Well, maybe someone's going to steal it. All right, it's a few bucks. What's the big deal? People keep certain things in their home. They don't lock them up. But if someone has a lot of money, you got to be really careful. People don't just put it under their mattress usually. People put it in the bank, because the more valuable something is, the more you have to guard it. But if you have something really valuable, you have a family heirloom, you have a piece of jewelry, you have certain documents, people put it in a safe deposit vault. Why? The more important something is, the more shmira it needs. The most valuable thing that we have in this world is our life. How do we guard our life? Our life is our words. Our ability to speak is the connection between our body and our soul. What allows us to be possible in this world is koyach hadibur, the ability to speak. And therefore, the more we guard our speech, the more we guard our life, and we are promised by David HaMelech, mihayish ha'chafetz Chaim, person wants life, netzar l'shayin chameira. Guard your words. That is your life. And we hear so much about not speaking Lashon Hara, but you want to really shake up the Shamayim? You want to make a real impact in this world? You know, the Gemara tells us in Masechta Yuma that there was a malach by the name of Gavriel who was banished. He was thrown out of the courtyard of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he couldn't come back in until Gavriel said something positive about the Jewish people. Gavriel said, you know, the Jewish people, the wives of Talmidei Chachamim, they stay up late at night to care for their families. Hashem said, who spoke positively about my people? And Gavriel was allowed back in to the courtyard. One of the greatest moments in recent Jewish history, in 1967, when Klal Yisrael regained access to the Koisel HaMa'aravi. What a wondrous moment in our history. And yet the Kloisenberger Rebbe said it was a very painful moment in our history. Because while, yes, we've gained access to our beloved Koisel, on the other hand, we're standing there at the wall, and Hashem's saying, don't go any further. You can't come into the palace yet. It's not yet time to come into my house. That's very painful. So we are like the Malach Gavriel. We are also waiting behind the wall. What's it going to take to get us back into the palace? Perhaps, just like the Malach Gavriel, all it's going to take is one positive comment about our friend, about our sister, about our mother, about our father, about our teacher, about our school, about Klal Yisrael. How amazing Klal Yisrael is. They even have a program so that we could be careful about what we speak about at our lunch break. Please let everyone take advantage of this amazing program. Perhaps this program is what we need to bring bracha to ourselves, to our family, to our community, and really to all of Klal Yisrael. And in the merit of us all uniting together to be shomer pinu u'l'shaynenu during our lunch break, may this be a zechus that we should all be able to go beyond the wall, be'ezras Hashem, into the bayis, into the palace of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with the binyan Beis HaMikdash, she'yibaneh b'mher v'yameinu. Amen.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.